Spiritual section next, and the rest of this show are pieces about how we handle ourselves, approach things and generate good thoughts, practices and intentions going forward. First up is personal value system. In the face of the current challenges we are navigating in this bifurcating world, which means splitting world, it is increasingly important now to examine our personal beliefs and value system to get to the deeper clarity on what reveals itself to be the guideline to your truest nature. Now, in our context, this would be consciously participating with spiritually beneficial behaviours that help to define an improved value system and guidelines for building improved character and personal integrity. Our personal values provide an internal reference point for what is discerned as beneficial, important, useful, beautiful, productive behaviours and actions which we commit to for the purpose of developing ourselves and guiding our life. Our personal values are what motivate and generate our behaviour and actions. It is what influences the choices we make in everyday life. And it is how we define and present ourselves to the world, and it must be done with higher value traits, unlike the US mentioned earlier. And understanding ourselves enough to have clarity on what we give value to in our personal value system is critical for building personal integrity and discerning what actions we take that are aligned with those values or not. Every person has to choose the kind of person they want to be in this world, whether you decide to wear the mask others provided for you or act independently to discover what you really value and how to think and feel for yourself. The mask of others is a copy of a copy and based only in ego and the vessel. If this is you, you have not defined or found your real self. You are just a copy of a program developed by someone else, and the question is that how you wish to be defined or viewed? Now, consciously making the choice and determining what is important to you by choosing a personal value system puts focus upon these qualities so that you can align the choices you make to reflect what's important to you. A person that has clarity on their personal values that guide their life decisions will make much better decisions for themselves. When we make many decisions over a period of time, if we remain clear and authentic to align with our personal values, all of those combined decisions will be coherent and form a network of purposeful and aligned choices that ultimately serve our best interests. And with this level of self-awareness and clarity, looking back over time, we will see that we were always being guided to be authentic by aligning our personal values with our actions, which form into the deep inspiration that reflects the kind of person that we really want to be. And this brings in the internal compass, which we in part have covered before. But when a person is unaware of their actions and how to connect them into their personal values, they are unable to develop a strong internal compass when navigating the world. This impairs decision making, as when our compass is not being inner directed and only outer directed, and then we make poor choices. And without self-awareness derived from choosing our own personal values, we cannot make informed decisions that enable strong discernment. Now, poor discernment and choices are a mind program. Good discernment and choices are heart-based. And when we act out of alignment with our deepest values and core self, we fall out of integrity with ourselves and lose our directional compass. We cannot see what direction we are moving in and become increasingly lost and confused, losing discernment in which path we are supposed to follow. And this is why most people are now in internal and or external chaos. They didn't define themselves and now they are lost. All of which is a product of not taking responsibility for the self and your own choices. And the crisis we are facing in ourselves is the crisis of consciousness. It is a lack of self-awareness of what deeply motivates our behaviours. And when we can observe what we give consent to, this reflects what we give value to. The lack of self-awareness combined with the utter lack of consciousness results in an inability to directly experience our true essential nature as spiritual beings. Instead, seeking more external pursuits when everything we need is within. Now is the time to dedicate effort to the self-inquiry process in order to clearly define personal truth in regard to your value system, ethics and the standard of behaviour, that which you are committed to follow, to be authentic. But as you gain deeper clarity on your own personal truth, then it is critical to take conscious steps to behave in ways that are consistent and coherent with your own personal value system. And that is how you build personal integrity, which gives you more strength to remain strong, stable and clear, especially when you are faced with decisions that you must make while enduring adversity or challenges. But if you haven't defined you and what you stand for, how can you possibly make good and consistent choices when you don't even know yourself? Think about that. Now, to maintain core stability, which is centrum, when exposed to the chaotic forces of biwave, when we should be triwave, and reversal energies, when it should be positive energies, that are producing potent collisions in the surface field, we must know how to be true to ourselves and to maintain personal integrity when dealing with the challenges that may come our way. In other words, once you've defined you and set your personal boundaries on behaviour, actions, challenges and truth, all you have to do is be you and retain what is you and all it stands for. Now, our personal integrity, ethics and virtues are powerful forces which stabilise us and keep us firmly grounded with our spiritual centre. And this is what keeps us strong, protected and transparent when facing intense oppositional forces. And this piece deals with our thoughts and in many cases lack thereof, which brings in defining you, discernment, consent and frequencies. It's the quality of intention. Because when we direct our consciousness energy onto a singular focus or goal, this event produces a powerful and significant force known as intention. But the first question is it positive or negative intention? Just what are you placing into the collective consciousness with your thoughts and subsequent intentions? When we place attention on cultivating our connection with higher consciousness, in order to develop deeper clarity of our truthful intentions, this act towards self-realization conducts the transformation of our energies into the manifestation of whatever we have intended. And concentrating our attention with a specific purpose or intention directs consciousness energy towards its manifestation, which causes this area of concentrated attention to continue to grow and expand in our lives. Simply put, where we place our attention is what directs our consciousness energy, while where we place our intention is what transforms that energy. And this is the power of the human co-creative consciousness, and every human being has this ability. The question then becomes, why are we not using this powerful ability and skill set? Gaining this self-knowledge is the starting point of developing the proper perspective, which allows us to make progress towards evolving and transforming ourselves into a higher expression potentials. This is the foundation required for making powerful changes in our lives that serves to stabilize long-term personal development and spiritual growth. So what are the different potentials that are possible in our manifestations? By first studying the links that connect the frequency of consciousness energy we access, combined with the quality of our intention. Consciousness energy and intention are not the same function in manifestation, but are interconnected and entwined with the fundamental mechanics of creation. But first comes the thought. And first, all consciousness is energy, and all energy is consciousness, or is conscious. Thus they are both interchangeable. Yet the quality of consciousness energy is not all the same or undifferentiated. It can be considered very similarly as the raw material that is chosen to create something into form of matter. And by remembering that all consciousness energy is intelligent, but has different qualities of intelligence that will need to be checked for resonance, which is frequency. The frequency doesn't lie, only the intentions of the person. So do we choose to co-create our consciousness with egoic intentions or higher self intentions? The higher the quality of the raw material and the higher the frequency of intention that one has to co-create with, results in a much higher quality of manifestation. We are unable to manifest higher frequency structures until we can direct our attention upon higher consciousness energy and intentions, while holding the singular focus that increases energy to vitalize and grow those same structures. So the concept of the intention has to be built by higher thoughts and frequency, which means it has to be built first within to manifest outward. As within, and so without. And this requires the spirit of diligence, so that we never give up our singular focus to serve the long-term goal. The singular focus is described as the personal spiritual mission of each person and the higher purpose they are to fulfill while on the earth at this time during the ascension cycle, which means a certain amount of focus each day has to be attributed to our inner growth. Yet we must temper this knowledge of the functions of the consciousness energy with the current conditions of inverted energy systems that we are exposed to on Earth. that are propagated by the psychopathic systems that carry out the enslavement agenda of the NAA. And this necessitates that we develop a stronger mental and emotional body that is capable of holding a singular focus, observe a point, and control over our impulses, which is the emotional body, or the power of our intention will be inverted into these reversal systems created by these negative forces. And we must discern the quality of forces and recognize inverted or reversal systems so that we gain clarity over the consciousness energy that we direct with our intention. Usurping personal intent. Now that we better understand how reversals and inverted systems are being used to usurp our consciousness energy to generate loosh that feeds into the NAA psychopathic systems, how does feeding into these reversals impact the power of our personal intentions? Well, inverted systems feed upon human co-creative consciousness by purposely tricking people out of their personal intent and consent. Being psychopathic systems, they deceive and lie to trick people to believe their intentions are humanitarian or positive, a bit like Helder Camera and Pope Francis in the previous piece. Therefore, manipulating good-hearted people to align with their intentions with organisations, leaders or celebrities that actually serve to produce more loosh. The key to that is never put anyone above your own heart. No one is higher or lower than you. No one. And this generates balance from within and without, and it is important to remember everyone has a role here. Some roles are more important than others, but that does not make those people more important than you. The raw material of consciousness energy exists in multiple scales with unique qualities and intelligence factors, electromagnetic tonal sounds and colours that impact how the consciousness energy will form into matter. The consciousness energy is comprised of distinct vibratory patterns that determines the frequency rate and how that frequency is then translated into blueprints of manifestation. And the quality of consciousness energy accessed is also informed by the frequency generated by the real intentions of the creator, and this also determines the higher quality or lower quality result of that energy manifestation. Everything in our universe consists of these multiple layers of vibrational frequency, which constitute the multiple scales of consciousness energy in existence and can be compared to as the available raw materials of the Creator. Now, it happens to be that the available raw materials are shifting in their scale during the bifurcation, and this allows for improvements in the quality of manifesting in the future. Thus, this raw material of consciousness energy is available on many scales of dimensional frequency that exist throughout time, and in the higher scales, the consciousness energy goes beyond the scale of dimensionalization and into no time. 13, 14 and 15D. Now, as we move up the consciousness scale, we access higher and more refined levels of consciousness energy, or the higher intelligence stations of our more refined vibrating aspects. As we move up the scale of conscious energy, our intelligence is heightened, while our awareness enlightens. And as a result, this greatly transforms the power and quality of our intention made into manifestation. So when we think of our soul, our monad oversoul and avatar Christ body, these are the higher aspects of our consciousness energetic identity. And this is where the understanding of the cosmology of dimensions is helpful in determining the quality of consciousness energy that is being used in creation or being directed at us. Now, we can more easily observe when the NAA is sucking energy from the lower levels of the consciousness energy, such as manipulating sexual energies from out of the pain body, or sudden impulses that make us feel pain and emotionally trigger us into acting out some unhealthy or destructive action against ourselves or others. Sucking the energy out, loosh, that is. And these are the common results of manipulating lower levels of consciousness energy through mind control broadcasts. The simple solution is observe them, don't absorb them, and retain your energy. Now, when we observe the current terrain of the global scape and collective consciousness stream, where do you feel these manifestations are sourcing from? Where are they being created? Do you intend to co-create with that same quality of energy? And what happens when you do? And that is where the self-awareness kicks in, as the more you self-assess in honesty, the more feedback, downloads and higher energies you receive. Now, to increase the frequency and quality of consciousness energy and intention that are made into manifestation, the single most important thing we must do is remove the ego personality and outer forces from exerting their control over our personal consciousness energy or intention. And that energy and intention must be used for the greater good, not personal self and your connections. Now, consciousness energy is generated wherever we place our focus and attention, and the quality of frequency will be gathered in a system of energy with which our intention vibrates. If we match the vibration of the collective consciousness in the organizations that we can observe in 3D currently, we are co-creating more with the same lower quality negative ego consciousness. Which is why I question engaging the collective consciousness, as I believe that energy is trapped in a cube or box. One must go and think outside of the box. In other words, you cannot be thinking in 2 and 3D. You must think higher. The same applies in the dream time. Thus, it is imperative we are able to discern the differences in qualities of energy, qualities of intention, and to consider placing energetic assessments on the organizations or things that we are involved with. That is, in essence, the flow. Don't give your time, energy, money and trust to just anyone, especially those people who demonstrate unethical behaviour, irresponsibility and selfish motivations. And this better equips us to be able to recognise how we can responsibly co-create with the qualities inherent in the higher consciousness forces. We cannot manifest higher consciousness creations until we can discern the accurate conditions of the NAA mind control culture in which we find ourselves on Earth. We must recognise these inverted systems operating around us as the beginning step. The first step at this point is questioning and then recognising that all here are not human, as in higher universal man. Some are serpent man, dragon man, bots, synths and clones. Stargate 1, Season 7, Episode 3 covers how they do cloning and also why.